Coverage of the 109th Indianapolis 500 is brought to you by Qapital. Welcome back to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway on a weather-abbreviated, very odd day here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway weather-wise, but we did have an awful lot of track running, some 2,500 laps turned for the 34 cars here on the entry list at the Indianapolis 500. And if you want to hear all of the stories about those 34 cars throughout this week and the next one, you're going to want to be subscribed to this channel. I think we've got the best Indy 500 content, not only on YouTube, but across the internet. And if you subscribe, hopefully you'll see the same thing that I'm seeing. And while you're down there, leave a like on this video and leave me a comment. Who's going to be on the pole position for the Indianapolis 500 this year? I think that's going to be an interesting discussion. You know, one of the biggest stories, if not the biggest story of last year's Indianapolis 500 was, and really the last 3-4 Indy 500s, is the dramatic late race of Pato O'Ward and the fact that he's come up so close every single year. And this is not unique here at the Indianapolis 500. Great champions like Ted Horn, Lloyd Ruby, Michael Andretti struggled to win the biggest race in the sport. Can Pato O'Ward do something that those drivers, those great champions, were unable to do? Break through, much like Josef Newgarden. It took Newgarden years to win the Indianapolis 500. Pato O'Ward, we got to speak to him today, and the first question I had to ask was, how do you overcome such a close loss last year? Last year was such an emotionally draining race for you, I know. Have you been able to put that behind you, and how did you do that? How did you kind of compartmentalize last year's finish and bring it into this year?
Hunger, man. It's hungry for more and hungry for another opportunity. And I mean, I think it hasn't really been a coincidence that we've been lucky that we've been fighting for it every year. We're damn good around here. Like that's the reality, and I think that gives us a lot of, self-motivation to come back and actually have another shot. Know that we're gonna have another shot. Like that's what's most important, because this place it can change from one day to another. But I've really found my groove here, I would say, and there's just the little thing called timing that we need to that I need to figure out. But I think we have our best chance ever, and I'm excited. I really am. I really embrace this whole month. Every year I get to enjoy it more and more and more.
What makes you damn good around here? Is this, because at one point last year you looked like you were in Kyle Larson's sprint car coming out of turn number 2. Like, you don't teach that. Where do you get it?
Honestly, I think the interview that I had after the race last year explains it all. Like I put the car through scenarios and things that at that moment I was like, oh my God, we're done. Like our race is done. And somehow we ended up fighting the race. But if people remember, we were 12th and 15th the whole race. No idea how we just, we had to get through the field on track, not on pit stops, on track. And when you're in a pack, it's so hard to do. And I don't have an explanation of how I did it, but the important thing is that we did, and you find that little risk, little extra risk, I would say, that you're willing to do to just get yourself to that opportunity, just because of how much this place kind of expresses. It's so much work all month for just that day, right? But no, it's. I feel like I've been an expert now at dealing with the second places here. I know 2023 I counted also as a top 3, because obviously I ended up in the wall there, but it was to win this race. If I didn't win this race, I was going to be second. It was either or. So it's just a great event, a phenomenal month, and the fans obviously are going to be amazing.
Just like the Indy 500 isn't won in a single lap, building wealth takes strategy and the right team. With Qapital's automated savings tools, you'll navigate every turn of your money journey and race towards your goals faster. Whether you're saving for a new car, vacation, or building an emergency fund, Qapital puts money management strategies in your pocket. Download Qapital today at qapital.com/David Land. That's QAPITAL.com/David Land. And let's take a look at today's results from the Wednesday practice here at the Indianapolis 500. Tell me where you heard this one before. Alex Palou, P1 at 227 miles per hour. Obviously, that was a toe lap, but Alex Palou's been fast all week so far, and we're going to see if he can make it 5 out of the first 6 races at the Indianapolis 500. Will Power been at the top of the speed charts all week long so far at 225 miles an hour, and it's Penske teammate Josef Newgarden and twice defending winner in the 3rd spot. He put the car in the barn early. Scott Dixon just behind him. He's been looking for toes all week long. We don't quite know yet what the true speed of that car is. Connor Daly got a massive toe lap to put it 5th on the board at 224 miles an hour. David Malukas did the least laps today, but somehow is 6th on the board for AJ Foyt Racing. You'll hear a little bit more from him later on in this video. Marcus Armstrong continues to be a sneaky contender in the top 10. And Elio Castroneves did the most laps today. He's making the most out of his one-off here at the Indianapolis 500. Jack Harvey for Dreyer Reinbold with Cusick Motorsports cracking into the top 10 in his Chevrolet-powered machine. Christian Rasmussen did a fantastic no-toe lap at 221 miles an hour. And with a toe, he did 224, got into the top 10. Louis Foster, the fastest Rahal in the field for the rookie. That's good. Colton Herta in the 12th spot. Kyle Larson in lucky 13th at 223 miles an hour. Ryan Hunter-Reay seemed a little bit unhappy throughout the day, but he places 14th in terms of the overall speeds. Takuma Sato much further up the board today than he was yesterday, so good progress for Taku. Scott McLaughlin, not big speed shown today. I think he was definitely focusing on traffic running. He was lifting almost the start-finish line, if that tells you anything. Graham Rahal looked uncomfortable at times today, but he says he got it a little bit more figured out as the day went on. Kyle Kirkwood was the outright fastest in 18th spot on the no-toe charts, almost 223 miles an hour for Kyle Kirkwood, and that would translate with the qualifying boost to about 233. Just think about that. Devlin DeFrancesco there in the 19th spot. Pato O'Ward, who you just heard from, in 20th. Marcus Ericsson in 21st. Alexander Rossi, who looks strong, especially in the no-toe charts. He was 2nd today. Felix Rosenquist has done a ton of traffic running, not really focused yet on qualifying. Marco Andretti didn't get a toe lap today. He's in 24th. Nolan Siegel was running a lot by himself. Looked like some qual sims as well as just running up in the front of traffic. Jacob Abel in 26th spot. He's still pretty decent on the no-toe charts. Kiffin Simpson in 27th. Robert Schwartzman for Prema in 28th. Prema did had a pretty massive improvement today. Rinus VeeKay still in the bottom half of the charts. Christian Lundgaard didn't have a very good day today. The speed just seemed to never come for the number 7 car. Callum Ilott in the 31st position. Stingray Robb in 32nd. He was the bottom of the no-toes today. Santino Ferrucci was not happy at all. He only did 26 laps. That car was in and out of the garage today. They've got some work to do. And Ed Carpenter, and I'll say this, even though it doesn't matter much because I think Ed's going to pretty easily qualify, but if we qualified today, which of course we didn't, Ed Carpenter would have gone home. So I mentioned Prema, and I had some pretty harsh words for them yesterday. There's been a marked improvement for Prema. Actually, on the no-toe charts, they've done 219 miles an hour for both cars, both the cars of Callum Ilott and Robert Schwartzman. And I got to speak to both Callum and Robert this morning, and this is kind of where they were feeling this morning.
You know, it's a difficult thing to put pressure in the right ways, but then also be content afterwards when you need to be. So that was kind of yesterday when we needed the on-track running and they were like, oh, we need to do this. I'm like, no, we need to run, like get out and run. And to be fair, it wasn't, we had some problems to work through, which is why we weren't out there in the first place, which was no one's real fault. It's just the way it unraveled itself. But yeah, even when we're on track, I'm like, I don't care if one of your sensors isn't working. We keep going out and we keep getting laps because we can deal with that stuff later. I need to test this stuff. But actually, once I was out, I was happy, really, really happy. And I think that I know what a really good car should feel like from last year. And I've worked through it in 2023 when I really didn't have a good car and we turned it around quickly. So I'm not worried at all. I think there's steps that we need to take and we'll be fine.
I mean, the thing is, you know, my approach is if there is something I have no control of, then I should not be worried about it. And, you know, I just need to focus on things that I can control, I can take care of. and that's what I was doing. Unfortunately, it's going on very difficult for us, and especially for me, being a rookie. That out of 5 races, 3 times I basically missed both free practices and jump in the qualifying. Obviously, that's not helpful for me in terms of getting used more to the car and finally trying things before going into the race. But it is what it is, and I did my best trying to improve myself. I was starting last, for example, last weekend, and I managed to get to P18. We could have done even better. We had really good pace, but I'm really happy because we finally found something decent in the car that was making it fast. So that's my task, is just to bring it up, make it better. So same here, but luckily here in Indy we have more testing days, so that's let's say keeping me more calm. That we will still have some driving time that we can, I can also get more used to the car, and we can also improve it.
So I've got a few thoughts, especially after we heard from Prema and we saw that they've made some improvements today. I don't think there's an easy bump right now. There's no one car anywhere on the grounds that I can point to and say, that one is in trouble, that one is going home. As conditions get worse, it's going to be hot tomorrow, the wind's going to pick up, and of course the qualifying boost gets added to the cars on Friday. The risks begin to increase. The difficulty of this racing surface is going to increase, and the likelihood of wall contact increases significantly. And like we've been saying for a little while now, if someone gets into the wall, that will significantly hamper any kind of hope of getting into this field, no matter who you are. I think Meyer-Shank Racing is extremely strong. You heard me mention Marcus Armstrong, been in the top 10 all week long to this point. Helio Castroneves looks really, really good. He's got a brand new chassis, kind of a similar situation to the one that he found himself in when he won his 4th Indy 500 in 2021. And I think Felix Rosenqvist has really taken on the role of the team leader. He has been doing a lot of the yeoman's work to try to get that thing going well in the traffic. The racing, I think, is going to be a little bit more interesting in this year than it has been in the past. It looks like the tires, the new tires that we saw last year that was pretty much bulletproof, seem like they're going to fall off a little bit more now with the extra weight on the cars. The tires working really as intended. But hopefully towards the end of those pit sequences, probably in the last 10 laps, because that's what the drivers have been saying, you're going to see some cars moving forward and some cars moving back. It depends on how well you've managed your tires. So I think that could be very interesting in the race, and we'll see as time goes on. But it looked like during the race running, the field spread out a little bit more than we've seen in the past, but also the cars at the front seem to be running closer, so figure that one out. We, of course, spoke to a lot more drivers this morning, and we wanted to kind of give you an evaluation from their perspective of yesterday's running and where they felt like they were heading into today.
Like I said, just continuing to get your balance better, but also like the drag and downforce at a efficient level to where you can still have good handling, but you can also build big runs and stuff to pass people. Yesterday I felt like my balance was in a good spot, but I almost felt a little draggy, in traffic. So, which I'm okay with on day one. So, we'll probably get to work on all that.
Yeah, I mean, it was good. It was our first day with the proper speedway car. We didn't have a speedway car at the open test, so we made some improvements with the car, but we were kind of questionable on if it would translate to this car, which thankfully everything did, so we didn't lose time at the open test. But it felt really good. I mean, we did the first few laps, did the checkup, and then we kind of went for a clean air running, ended up getting a nice little toe lap, and the times were already there, so it was pretty easy for us to come up there compared to the open test. So I was like, okay, it's not great, but let's not worry. We don't got the speedway car, but things are looking really good for us. So we just have some tweaks to make. Hopefully the rain can just stop so we can actually go out and do some race running.
Yeah, I felt pretty good yesterday, I think. Much better start this year than last year. Having a year under my belt has been a huge help. So I think going into just the rest of practice and as we make our way towards race day, I feel a lot more comfortable.
Yeah, we've been working our way into traffic. The car is very comfortable right now. We did a ton of out front running yesterday just to get it to a point where the balance was comfortable. I think we accomplished that pretty early on and then started working into traffic. It's always good to kind of start with one car or two cars instead of being, 7 deep in a pack. So especially given that I haven't done the race before, I'm kind of working myself into that. But no, it's nice to have good teammates that you can work with a little bit on that front. And so I suspect we're going to do more running around teammates and all three of them are people that I would like to run near and I trust and I think I can learn from. So.
Considering how last year went, did you do very much race running at all, or were you completely focused on qualifying? Is this like kind of a new experience for you?
It is a little bit. We did a tiny bit last year, but no, I mean, we knew we were in a bit of a hole for qualifying, and that was kind of the main focus. So it is definitely a new thing for me and a new challenge.
It was good. I think where we left the open test was kind of like a 95% happy. I started Tuesday's practice 100% happy from the get-go and just kind of rode along with what we had, and we made a few little tweaks just trying to understand what I want, what the team wants. No real big changes, just kind of driving around, making sure that we're happy moving forward in the month. And I think it's probably the happiest that I've been in a car so far. So unlike where I left the open test, so it's just very, very pleasant to start the month this way. But again, we gotta stay realistic. We gotta keep our heads down and just focus on what we can control. And I think at this point that was very nice to just start it like that. And I mean, there is no doubt that we're gonna have a session where it just doesn't feel right, and we're not going to be happy, and I think it's always good to have this one session now to lean back on. Hey, this is where we are in comparison to, so I think we'll be okay.
What I was surprised about, and which is very good, is our no-toe speed was actually really good. Like, we were fourth, and we didn't try, so that's good. That's something that we kind of just ended up out there on old tires, and the car seems to have good speed, so we're going to just low-key be somewhat happy about that for now, because again, that stuff is not easy to come by. Like, if I remember at the test, we were kind of driving around and you're like, shoot, we're doing like 216 by ourselves in race downforce. Like, this isn't that great, and like we kind of made a large jump on that. So other than that, we actually had a lot of struggles. We had some things that were, I would say, very strange compared to the test. So we got all the way back out on track in the car, strapped in, and it went yellow. And so we needed that one run because we went back to the garage to kind of get everything checked out. Because if you make 4 or 5 different changes and nothing changes on the balance, you have an issue. So you got to go back and we got to figure out what's wrong. So we've had a lot of different difficulties with front wing differences. Like, we've had 5 different front wings on the car, and each one does a different thing. So that's not great. Quality control, maybe we got to figure that out, but we got to figure out what wing is best for us, and then we can kind of go from there. But again, we needed a couple more runs to figure that out, but now we're very tire rich because we didn't get to run a lot of tires yesterday.
I don't know. I didn't run. I did 2 runs by myself, just new car, or not new car, but same car for the last 3 years now, but just shook it down. Wanted to make a setup adjustment, go back to the pad, because obviously things need to settle, and came back out. Lightning hit the ground, so we didn't get to run our last 40 minutes of happy hour, so it's what it is.
And of course, one of our favorite segments to do in this video series are the history segments, and they're brought to you by gutswear.com. It's the place people ask me all the time, where do you get diecast, the new IXO diecast, where do you get them? Well, you get them at Gutswear, and it sounds like little birdie told me there might be a little something that you guys might really like here later on in the month in the Gutswear trailer here and on gutswear.com. So take a look at that very, very shortly. But we mentioned Josef Newgarden and his pursuit of history. It's been a pursuit that other drivers, famous names, have pursued, and it is to win 3 Indianapolis 500s in a row. No one's done it, but every single one of them have gotten close. In 2024, Josef Newgarden became only the 6th driver in history to score back-to-back wins in the Indianapolis 500. And this year, he has the opportunity to accomplish what the 5 other legends that share his honor could not: win 3 500s in a row. What stands in his way is fate. The others all stood on the precipice of a three-peat themselves, but each time it was fate that intervened. The first driver to go back-to-back was Wilbur Shaw in 1939 and 1940, driving the Maserati 8 CTF, coined the Boyle Special. In 1941, Shaw was back, looking for his 4th Indy win and 3rd in a row, carrying with him the aura of an unbeatable man. Having led over half of the race, Shaw and his Maserati looked well on their way to claiming their third Indy win. But on lap 152, the unthinkable happened. Shaw lost control and crashed when an out-of-balance wheel was mistakenly placed on his car. The heavy rearward impact ruptured his fuel tank and injured his back, causing temporary paralysis. Thankfully, the fuel didn't ignite, and the safety team was able to rescue the injured Shaw. The accident effectively ended the three-time Indy winner's career, but that wasn't the end of Shaw's Speedway heroics. He would go on to save the Speedway after it fell into disrepair after World War II, introducing a Terre Haute, Indiana businessman named Tony Holman to the track and convincing him to save it. Shaw served as the Speedway's first president during the Holman era. While Wilbur Shaw was destined for greater things, the baton passed to the man who won that fateful 1941 race, co-driving with Floyd Davis. His name was Maury Rose. Rose achieved these wins aboard the Blue Crown Specials that were owned by Lou Moore, but the victories did not come without controversy. During the 1947 race, Rose was running second to then-rookie teammate Bill Holland when both drivers received a message board from the pit lane reading EZY, or easy. Holland reduced speed, but Rose ignored the team order and continued on pace. Rose closed and then passed Holland, who to Rose's amazement put up no challenge, even giving a friendly wave as Rose roared past. Holland was convinced he was more than a lap ahead of his teammate, but when the checkered flag flew, it was Rose who was directed into victory lane, not Holland. Team orders creating one of the most controversial finishes in Indy 500 history. The rookie Holland fumed in anger. Rose won a less controversial race in 1948, but in 1949 it was Rose and Holland once again fighting for victory in their Blue Crown Specials. In a carbon copy of the 47 finish, Lou Moore again held up the easy sign. This time, neither driver yielded. Rose broke his car in the pursuit of Holland and was fired on the spot for disobeying team orders. Now uncontested, Holland cruised to his only Indy 500 win. While it wasn't a three-peat for Rose, it was for car owner Lou Moore and his beautiful Blue Crowns. 6 years later, it was the Mad Russian Bill Vukovich who scored the next pair of back-to-back wins in 1953 and 1954. And if not for a steering failure while leading in 1952, Vukovich's 54 win would have already equaled a three-peat. Vuki would get another opportunity in 1955 and looked poised to do so, leading in convincing fashion early, but all of a sudden, tragedy would strike on lap 56. A chain reaction pileup on the backstretch collected the helpless Vukovich, vaulting his roadster over a wall and causing fatal injuries. In just 5 Indianapolis 500 starts, Vukovich led 485 laps and remains the only driver to ever lead the most laps in 3 consecutive Indy 500s. It was another 18 years before another would join this very elite group. And it was Albuquerque, New Mexico's Al Unser Sr., who won back-to-back in 1970 and 71 aboard the iconic Johnny Lightning Specials, entered by the Vels Parnelli Jones team. Big Al was in the hunt, but not a threat to eventual race winner Mark Donohue in 1972. Unser actually finished third on the road, 2 laps behind the race, but was promoted to second when the apparent second-place finisher, Jerry Grant, was disqualified for fueling from All-American racer teammate Bobby Unser's fuel rig. Al Unser would go on to have one of the Speedway's most prolific careers. He retired with 4 Indy wins and the all-time lap leader record, which was only recently toppled by the great Scott Dixon. Helio Castroneves was the next to join the club in more ways than one. After winning in his rookie attempt at Indianapolis in 2001, Castroneves squeaked out a controversial win over Paul Tracy in 2002 to climb the fence in back-to-back years. Much like the Blue Crowns of old, the Team Penske drivers were always in the hunt. Gilles de Ferran had finished runner-up to Helio in 2001 and was taken out of the 2002 race with a bad pit stop. Castroneves and de Ferran would clash again in 2003. This time, a late race pass in lap traffic would see Lady Luck smile on Gilles, as his Panos Toyota crossed the line by just over 0.2 of a second over Helio's Dallara. To date, Helio is the closest of all the challengers to a three-peat, losing by just 0.2 of a second. To win 3 in a row and become a man who stands alone in the history of the sport, Josef Newgarden will need to overcome a history of failure. Can the driver who waited 12 years for his first taste of the milk wait less time than anyone before him for his third? So Thursday, as the wind picks up almost on cue, it's going to be hot, it's going to be windy. Tony Kanaan still has to take his refresher test. Josef Newgarden absolutely ripped it a new one in the press conference. I don't even necessarily disagree with him. I think Josef made a very good point. If you've got a driver like Tony Kanaan, you should just be able to stick him in the car and let him go out. Why does he need to do a refresher test? But he's going to do a refresher test, supposedly at 10 a.m. tomorrow, but that's also been the schedule for the last 2 days, and that hasn't worked out. We still expect weather potentially to interrupt the next 2 days, possibly the next 3 or 4, so this could be... Anytime weather becomes a factor at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, you just don't exactly know. It's another added layer of unpredictability, and we like unpredictability here. Of course, there's more interviews to come. The rest of the field will be through the bullpen tomorrow, so we'll talk to them. And we've got a history segment on something that happened 20 years ago, perhaps in this spot, perhaps in this pit box. I don't know. I'd have to look at the pit assignments. But thank you guys so much for watching. This has been David Land on YouTube. Thanks to everyone who has supported this coverage. It has been absolutely awesome. We'll see you for Thursday practice here on the channel.